So this video is completely off topic than what I would normally talk about, but I gotta be honest, recently I'm in a huge talking mood. So I'm not even going to discuss music here. I'm going to try to tie it in with music eventually, but sometimes I should talk a little softer because this microphone picks everything up way too loud. But sometimes I think about and write about some things that are just bothering me, kind of just to get it off my chest. I usually never send them anywhere, and I eventually just lose it. What I wrote, and I mean, sometimes I go on for paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. It's kind of like a solitary, like mental therapy sort of thing that I have just always kind of done. And typically, I never do anything with what I wrote. But this time, I was just watching this dude's video, and I was kind of like, you know what? I kind of want to at least get this out there a little bit, at least through talking. Because lately I feel that I've always used the internet and I've just never really utilized it as much as I really could have. And now I kind of want to expand, as much as I can. I want to expand my base of people I'm talking to in the world, because I feel like I could be talking and having a conversation and carrying it on with a lot more people than I currently am. So today what I want to discuss is meeting people through the internet. Now, this idea is actually really, I would have never spoke about it if it wasn't for something really incredible that happened to me, solely because of the internet. In the summertime, I met somebody on the internet. Well, I met this person on the internet about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I was given the epic opportunity to travel all the way to his country, which is Italy, throughout last summer, the summer of 2014, and I met this person on the internet, and then it really got me thinking about ciao Alessandro, by the way, if you're watching, and then it really got me thinking about, how epic the internet is, and just how little I feel, my real life friends, real life, use it, or what they use it for, or what the majority of people use it for. That I know, the average person I know doesn't really utilize the internet to the point that I think they could. The power, I feel, is just not being utilized. It's not being utilized for music. It's not being utilized for film. It's not being utilized for television. It isn't being utilized for knowledge. It's not being utilized in schools. I just have a whole series of complaints, and it really does have to do with the art, because actually, I'm going to tell you the truth. Searching for a band. Now, what I always said about the internet was, now people are starting to pick up on it. But years ago, I remember some of the first people I met on the net. So now I'll tell you a story. Now, one of the first people I ever met, in our house here, we didn't, I live in, and always have lived in, I suppose what you could call a lower class neighborhood. I didn't live in the richest part of town ever, but I knew really wealthy people, and I knew really, people who just didn't have diddly, and most of my friends, most of the people that I was friends with, didn't really have computers. Like, I remember in high school, I was really one of the only people with, like a nice computer that really kind of ran well. I knew how to navigate the internet because I had an older cousin who taught me how to navigate it, and they didn't teach that in school. They didn't really teach, like, I don't know how to describe it. They didn't, just like school never does. They didn't teach you the fun part of the internet. Like how to chat with people, random crazy people, or how to listen to music. Back then it was different. Like, there wasn't YouTube to listen to music, and all this, and or what games and everything like that. And I had an older cousin, and he taught me how to do all of that. And I just remember one of the first friends I met, was a message board. I was playing guitar, so I was on a guitar message board on Ultimate Guitar, I guess it was. And I met this dude from Texas. This dude changed my life. I still remember this guy. Now, I guess through Facebook, I still could find him if I wanted, but and I do see his Facebook page occasionally, but this dude changed my life because, see, in my area, again, it was like a lower class neighborhood, and it's like I live like right on the outskirts of like a city. I'm trying to say of a very troubled, city, I suppose we could say. So, so a lot of the people weren't really listening to. That's why I go on and on about hip hop, really, in some of these talks, because most of the people I grew up with were generally just listening to hip hop. The people I had available to me in life were really just listening to hip hop music. So when I would try to find, and I was really into, like, when I was growing up, the stuff that I listened to, I had a very close relationship with my grandfather. That's actually what this tattoo is here. It's my old man, and my old man introduced me. We hung out constantly when I was in elementary school, and he listened almost exclusively, to all the great 1950s artists and the 40s artists. He listened to, Pops listened to Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, like the two big names for the Italian American crowd. And then he also listened to all the great stuff that came out of Memphis and places like that. He listened to, Dolly Parton, Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins. I mean, the list just goes on and on. He listened to all those great Buddy Holly. So when I was that age, I grew up really almost exclusively listening to those old rock and roll songs. The Beach Boys, huge deal for us in this family. And then what happened was when people, I don't really recall anyone discussing music too much at like a very young age. But then in middle school, which in the States, middle school is 6th through 8th grade, when you're like 12 to 13 or 14 or whatever, people started really discussing music, and everyone was into hip-hop. And I was just like totally like, this doesn't make any sense to me, I don't get this music. I wasn't at a point where I really could get it. And that was all anyone wanted to talk about, and here I was. I mean, you had the chicks who were listening to Britney Spears and Mariah Carey, and then you had the dudes who were listening to, like, Eminem had just burst out in the scene, and then, following Eminem, all the guys were, like, trying to listen to Tupac, and, like, 50 Cent came out, like, a year after that or something, so, like, they had these things, and, like, whereas I respected that, but I really was, like, lost in this world of this totally unrelatable culture, that was, as far as these kids were concerned, really ancient, and they couldn't understand, because I'm listening to stuff from 1955 here, and they're just like, dude, what are you doing? So, the internet, this is when the internet first really comes into play in my story, because I take to the internet, and I end up meeting this guy. I remember I met him he was from Texas, like I said, Fort Worth, I remember. And I still never saw Fort Worth to this day, but I'll always associate it with this dude, and I'm always going to want to see it, because it turns out in Texas, you see, now I realize as an adult, I've read much more, I've explored much more, etc. I see now that in Texas there's a phenomenal rock and roll scene, whereas here there's not. In the Northeast, really, if you're not in NYC, generally speaking, I don't really think there's a great rock scene up here. I honestly don't believe there is. But in Texas, there's a great one. And everybody knows that. I mean, they do South by Southwest Festival down there. Rock and roll is just really appreciated. I always will say, to the end of my days, that rock and roll, at least in this time period, is definitely way more appreciated in the South. Southern rock and everything, I mean, really, when you think about it, the Southern rock bands were kind of like the greatest American rock bands at the end of the day. Proper rock bands, the Southern rock guys. But, anyway, so here's my friend down there, and he introduces me to all these weird bands that were just totally out of my radar. I mean, here I am, I'm coming from just whatever, my old man introduced me to, and then my friend starts introducing me to an internet friend. That's what I started this conversation about. Internet friend starts introducing me to all these bands. I mean, some of whom are like, Modest Mouse, just like these, Senses Fail, these strange indie emo bands that I really just, like, the TV wasn't going to tell me about. It was really an internet thing. I feel Bright Eyes, Conan Conor Oberst, these artists that like just weren't on the radar whatsoever for my peers in the neighborhood or in the city at large. Just not on the radar whatsoever. Like, to this day, I've never really found too many people, and we're talking, I mean, I'm a lot older now, and I still never really connected with anybody musically like that, because very few people. Every now and again, I'll find somebody, but generally speaking, these things were, and then I had my punk rock period, which again all was the internet. So I just wanted to say it because there I am, I'm watching this kid's video, and he's going on and on about the internet and internet friends. Now, some people just rule them out completely, and I do see this a lot. So I felt really touched because, again, I mean, I traveled to a whole other country solely because of the friggin' internet. So I'm going to sing its praises all day, But what I wrote here was a lot of what I'm even just covering right now through this video. I mean, some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life, I've met through the internet. And sometimes I just think, like, it's so hard to, meet people on the internet in a way for certain things. Like, musicians, I don't know, where the hell do they meet on the internet? Maybe I just don't utilize the community aspect of it enough. I mean, I am kind of just totally, like, boom, YouTube, that's it, stop. But I don't know. I just think that there could be an easier way. And I mean, I guess I have met a lot of nice people through YouTube. And that's kind of why I want to make these talking videos, because maybe someone will understand me more. And what I really am still looking for in life is just a great band, because what the bloody hell, mate? It's kind of I need to get to London. I'm waiting years now. Now the next place I need to go is London. Okay, I've been to Italy and I want to go back, but now I want to go to London, and really I need to go down under. You understand? So that was why I got into music in the first place, because the beautiful thing about music is, and I said this in another video, is that even if you're not moving, like most of the time you see, I'm just playing the songs in this room, but music just takes you somewhere else. It is another way to travel, both in time and in space, in a way, because it's really incredible. It's really, really incredible. I even think it has metaphysical healing attributes. Like, sometimes I'll just have a wicked headache, or I'll be very tired and wiped out, and then I'll just start playing some music, either listening or actually playing myself, and it's like I'm being healed. I don't know how to describe it. And, I have so much to say about it. To me, music is a very philosophical thing. And as my great friends and amigos would know, I always was largely a philosopher and not just a musician. And that's something maybe the people of my channel haven't realized, is that there is a huge component and personality trait behind me that always was a huge thinker. And that was, sometimes it can be kind of hard for me to express myself solely through songs. And that's why I'm starting to enjoy just letting it all out, and just talking. So, thank you, grazie mille. I'm happy that anyone would listen to this, and ciao.